Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next The Promised Neverland manga review. This one is going to be for chapter 175, which is called A New World Part 2. But I have a feeling this one might kind of be more remembered as like the return of Phil or something very dramatic like that, you know, Queen Mujika, those type of topics, because this was a very eventful chapter. Some big things happened in this. A great speech by Luvis, Queen Mujika, of course, and then ending it with Phil's big return. And I almost feel weird talking about the whole Phil thing just because obviously the fandom in a way has sort of blown it out of proportion in that, like, we thought there'd be some sort of plot significance behind when Phil would be reintroduced, that he would be the big bargaining chip that the enemies would use against Emma and everyone. And we went through Legravalima, we went through Peter Rattray without ever seeing him. And so it's almost like weird to just have him appear like this and just be completely fine. Emma just finds him. It's a big emotional moment. But it is a big emotional moment because when the decision was made during the escape back in the first arc, what they did to make it happen was that they had to, unfortunately, make the decision to leave behind a lot of the younger kids. And so Phil was more or less like left behind as like the leader of the younger kids. And so Emma basically made the promise to him specifically that we will come back for you. That was so much of why there was such a, you know, desire, an intense drive to make everything happen sort of as soon as possible, because they wanted to go back as soon as possible to get Phil and the others out. So there is a big significance to Phil being back, but it's more of an emotional thing rather than like any specific plot significance. But it is nice to see him back in the story now. We'll see, you know, obviously how he's grown, because obviously, you know, he was relatively young back then, but like given the time that's passed, you know, he'll actually be like quite a bit more mature just because he was so young. But we'll have to wait until the next chapter, I suppose, to properly get into it. Right now, it's just the sort of the Phil hype train at the moment. But let's get straight into the chapter here, because I think a lot of the Luvis stuff is best talked about by discussing his speech as we go through it. So we obviously start off in the Imperial capital. So we basically get the idea that this speech is effectively what Emma and everyone else at the end of the last chapter was hearing about. As he gives this announcement here, Emma and everyone else is hearing this announcement as well, immediately clarifying to us that there's no real conflict left in the series at this point. I'll discuss this more when we get to sort of the end of the speech and more speculation going to the future, but that very much seems to be the way that it is. The 2,000 strong army now is no longer a threat. It seems like everyone is gone. It's now just time to wrap up the series and just have this discussion about the promise and see where we go from here. But anyway, the speech is: tell all citizens, the current administration has been dismantled. The leaders, the vassal armies of the 5 regent houses, and those managing the 4 great farms shall be arrested immediately. I promise to distribute the evil blood to all citizens, and promise that no one will suffer from hunger or degeneration ever again. And one more thing, will take this opportunity to abolish all farms. So really big statements, and it is sort of a surprise that like Luvis is making such big statements, but it fits with this sort of changed character that he is since his return a few chapters ago, that he would make a decision like this. He ultimately is revealing himself to just personally never have liked the situation that it is right now. We know he's always been behind the idea of he prefers hunting humans to just plain eating them. So it would make sense why he would ultimately want to take this down. And we'll see once we get to actually, I suppose, maybe having a discussion between humans and demons again, how much of a desire he has still to hunt humans and like where his perspective is, I suppose, as we go forward. But they address it in a couple of pages' time to a degree. So anyway, there's a big reaction from like Sanju Mujika and the entire crowd, and the crowd becomes an important player in this as well. We get a lot of just the random demon population sort of perspective here. The kids, just some of the random adults in the audience giving their responses to this. And they're like, you know, wait, does that mean that we won't be able to eat humans anymore? Exactly, is what Luvis says. And they're like, why? And he just explains, This was decided in the promise 1,000 years ago, that we'll segregate our worlds and we won't hunt each other. But we continued to eat humans despite it. That is where everything got distorted. The crowd is kind of listening intently, but they're sort of still mainly dealing with the idea of like, we can't eat humans, like what? Farms shouldn't exist. Because of them, this reign continued. They held control over you by how they distributed human meat, manipulating your lives and intelligence. And this is where we get a full page of the crowd just giving their thoughts on this, having a discussion. That's true. Hey, if we can have the evil blood, we don't need to eat humans. Yeah, we were afraid that we'd degenerate if we didn't eat humans until now. But it's human meat. If it were other meat, ... He sort of trails off. Another guy says, yeah, I want to eat human meat. Human meat is special. And then a very reasonable demon here says, if we allow the farms to exist, we may be able to eat human meat, but someone could use the farms to control us again. And they sort of agree with this statement of like, I don't want that, me neither. It's more natural to have no farms. I guess it's okay, it's only human meat. And there's a lot of frustration from some people, but ultimately they settle on the idea that it's fine. We know that the evil blood works. It means that we don't have to eat humans. But obviously the impression you get here is that some of them actually like the taste, but they understand it's a more complicated situation. They would prefer to be free than to just, eat and be, contained again or like manipulated like the past government. We will finally be free, Luvis continues here. We won't repeat the same mistakes and tragedy ever again. The crowd is supporting him kind of completely in all of this. Let's get rid of the farms. We don't need farms. Let's change. Abolish the farms. Hooray for the new era. Long live King Luvis. And the reaction is very happy from the adults. The kids are sort of, crying over such a powerful speech. And then Sanju and Mujika in the middle are kind of like, we'll see where this goes. They're still a little bit suspicious. Until Luvis says this. No, I'm not going to become king. And he surprises everyone by saying this. And they ask why. And he says, I'm part of the old system. I'm also guilty of looking the other way during the old administration's reign. And to himself, he says this, like we get an aside, inner dialogue type stuff. Besides, I died at that hunting ground. My core was destroyed then. I was dead for sure. I never thought I'd revive. I had no idea I also had two cores. I lost to humans, that's why I resolved to decay in an unknown village. I heard the queen passed away, and he overhears this. And so this is him discovering the death of his sister in all of this. I'm not worthy of becoming king. What the new world needs is a new monarch. And here's the big surprise. I believe Mujika here is fit to be that monarch. And again, this time she and everyone is like, huh, me? And the kids are like, oh, Mujika is the queen here. That's interesting. And this is when, out of nowhere, the elder sage arrives. The head sage is like, I agree that Mujika is the most worthy to rule. And they're like, what? Your Excellency, you're here. Mujika has always acted selflessly for the citizens, saving them many times. She is the most deserving. The temple and Sanju will do our best to support you. Will you become the new queen, Mujika? Be our queen. That's the question presented towards her here. She has a decision to make. Is this what she wants? Is she willing to take on this role? And the crowd, they've gone through a lot here. They're going back and forth. They seem to be really just going with the flow here. Yes, please rule over us, Mujika. Our world will be secure under you. That's right. That'll truly make it a new era. And the sage just, I think in a very good statement here, just says, wait, nothing will have changed like that. Was Legravalima to blame, only to blame? Is the previous ruler the only one accountable? No, you citizens were responsible for letting her rule. You left everything to the queen. That was how they manipulated you. Just as even now, moments ago, you were chanting to kill the evil-blooded. Not only the ruler, but all citizens must think and act. The new world will be created and protected by everyone. And he says here, we will with our own hands. Everyone will create and protect. We will support you too, Your Majesty, is what they say in the audience. Yes, Your Majesty Mujika, Queen Mujika. So it's this kind of just interesting point here of just don't put it all on just the ruler. That's how you let what happened happen. You have to play a role as well. And you are now going to have a queen who will listen to the people and you will be allowed a say in it, but you have to do that yourselves. And that's why their initial response was just like, yes, rule over us, it'll be secure under whatever you have to say. And so it's just this idea of like the demons have to get used to kind of being kind of a democracy in a way, having a leader, but also being able to sort of have a say in how things go. And so this is what we get right now. The world is changing right now for real. And this is Mujika's inner dialogue. Will I really be able to become queen? And she looks over at Sanju. She gets the nod here. No, I must. I will, along with Emma, we'll create a new world. As we cut to her being crowned queen here. So she kneels down. The kind of crown is placed on her head. And the proclamation is given. Our new queen, long live the queen. And we cut back to like the others watching on the tablet, basically seeing this happen, hearing this happen. And they're like, what is happening here? How did this go from being suddenly the execution of them to being Rujika being crowned as the new queen? And we get Gilda's reaction. She was alive, but wait, she's the queen. What's going on? Dawn says, but that's good. The evil blood will be shared. It's going according to our original plan. The demons won't have to be annihilated. And I think Oliver here says, no, not just that, but the farms will be abolished. The farms will no longer exist. And we get a nice kind of shot here of just Emma's like reaction to all of this. We see Isabella's reaction to this, and just highlighting that this is such a huge announcement for all of these characters, the moms, the kids, and it would have been, I suppose this also helps to sort of inform like Peter Atri's kind of reaction from before as well a little bit. But yeah, and then we get double page spread, everyone like in tears at this amazing announcement, the moms and the children. All children raised as food will be free. Really nice moment here of like you have some of the moms kind of hugging some of the kids and so on. It's really, really good stuff. But then we get the last 2 pages. We aren't children to be eaten anymore. They're not going to pursue us. We're free. That means, and like we cut a second away. The bell is rung. Some of the other kids come over. It's Phil, and Phil spots Emma, just up the hill. He has a shocked reaction. She says, "I'm home, Phil," and he starts to cry. And it's this big, happy reunion scene between the two of them, as it says at the bottom. Next chapter hits May 10th. Now that's an interesting one because we know Shonen Jump is off next week. It's basically like I think they're doing in Japan delay on it for basically the virus. But most of the other manga are saying that they'll have their next chapter in 2 weeks. So Skip 1 is back on, but here The Promised Neverland is going on like a month break, which is quite interesting. This is, I think, an okay point at which to do it. There's still a lot still to do, but it's a nice point in that we've dealt now with all of the conflict, and now we can prepare ourselves just for the sort of ending resolution. We still have to deal with the one, what the promise is, and I suppose the question of, will the promise now be further altered given just how well everything has gone, like in the kids' favor? Their promise is very much like kind of saving themselves from the demons. I wonder, will there be any clarifications made to achieve more of a peace with the demons and not be so separate? But we'll see how they go about that. I think a lot is going to really depend on I suppose Mujika now and Emma discussing things. It's an interesting one in that, like, will Emma technically be considered the leader of the kind of cattle children at this point, so that they can actually have that discussion of like Emma and Mujika as like the leaders of both of their factions? I'm assuming they might do something where it's like Emma and Isabella will be like the main two sort of representing the humans, and then it'll be like Mujika with maybe Sanju and Luvis might be involved in it. I think that's the question in all of this, is like Luvis has given the crown basically to Mujika, but what's he going to do now? He's accepting not being in this powerful position, but what does he actually want? That's the key thing. I'm not sure. I don't think he's going to be like a threat or anything like that. I don't really see us having another fight with him necessarily, but I can see maybe something where, like, whatever resolution that they come to, there's some form of a way for him to, you know, have a way to hunt, but it's more reasonable. I don't know, it's hard to properly think about. Like, he might have completely changed or not. We have to really get what his full perspective is. But like I said, I thought it was a very good chapter. I thought that the speech was really, really good. It did exactly what it needed to do. It wasn't just Luvis speaking to a silent audience. You saw the audience really think this through, of like, it is a huge change for them all to have to adapt to being so used for all these years, getting food from the farms, and they need this food to survive and not degenerate. And now they're hearing that the thing that they were told was evil blood all this time, cursed blood, that is this terrible thing to happen, is actually just no downsides, like their salvation, basically. That if they get it, they don't need to eat humans anymore. And in many ways, they shouldn't have, like, just forever had to eat humans like this. That was all down to the reign of the monarchy up to now. And I liked how you just had the audience just, like, discuss it with each other, basically, to come to the conclusion that, like, yes, we would prefer to be free than to just have food, human meat, for the sake of having human meat, because that's what we do. So I like that they kind of characterized just kind of the people's reaction, and then did it a little bit more with what the sage said, of like, okay, you're willing to accept a new leader who moments ago you were kind of promoting to be killed. You have to take more responsibility as the citizens here, now that you're going to be given that opportunity. I thought that was a really good kind of point to be made. And just, yeah, like Mujika as a character, kind of her arc, kind of feeling like he's coming full circle from being the character who always put herself on the line for the people, but was made into this pariah of demon society, and now here she is being celebrated as the leader for a new era for the demons, for peace. And because she had already formed a relationship with Emma, there is this, like, goal in the future. Like, you can see where peace between humans and demons can actually be a thing. We'll see how that goes, though. And then, yeah, the big reaction of everyone to this news on both sides. It's a big deal for the demons to be free from their government, and it's a huge thing for the cattle children to be free from the kind of cursed destiny that they all had. Both the moms as well as the kids. It's a huge thing. And then kind of ending it all with the emotion of, like, now that all of the conflict is gone, in a way, the reunion of Emma and Phil really signifies, you know, that return to where we were at the end of the first arc. It's one of the main promises of the series that has been fulfilled at this point, of Emma coming back for Phil and the others. Big moment. So yeah, we'll see how Phil is. I definitely want to see kind of what he has to say, of like, does he say, like, he tried to protect everyone? You know, will he give us any perspective on what happened with Andrew, the whole incident? But you know, it's a great moment of, like, finally Phil is here, and we can stop speculating every single chapter. What happened to Phil? Where is Phil? Here he is. King Phil, but no, not really. But either way, yeah, fun chapter. Unfortunate that we have to wait a month for the next one, but it's, I suppose if there was any time when it's like, okay, yeah, this is an okay time to do it, when, you know, we still, of course, desperate to find out about the promise and the one, but they've left it off at the point where, like, this is an okay time to actually have a break, given that we have to have one at this point. So, you know, it is what it is. Happy with the chapter. But yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this chapter. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.